and welcome back to the channel. My name is Sun, and today we are reading a little bit deeper into our preparation for the eclipse transformation. So whether you're in this timeline with us or you're on a different timeline, either way you'll be experiencing something. If you clicked on this video, if the title attracted to you, then this is for you and there's something here for you. But in this current timeline, while I'm recording this video, we do have a huge eclipse portal opening up that is ending and restarting a 9-year cycle with the South Node. So there's a lot of clearing happening, and a lot of people are experiencing really intense symptoms of clearing, like migraines, headaches, really extreme fatigue, overwhelm, emotional numbness. So I am seeing that in a lot of people within our collective, and I imagine that you're maybe experiencing something similarly. So we are asking today for support in what we're currently experiencing to be able to clear in a gentle and quick way so that we can access our sense of security and safety and alignment with who we truly are on an even deeper level after this cleansing process. So I just want to start by offering a couple, this is the wrong deck, of little love messages to bring in some of that lightness that we are really needing to balance ourselves out at right now. So yeah, a little bit of clearing happening in the throats for sure. We're understanding that our voices have power, and we're beginning to be able to use that more intentionally and not give it away to people who are not appreciative or reciprocal. Yeah. All right. Calling all divine supports for the light workers of this collective who are wishing to meet in a space of higher alignment. Any messages that can support us at this time? Thank you so much. The only thing that is real is love. Shift your focus from the problem back to love. So there is a kind of trick that happens with negative energy, a trap. It's often referred to as the healing trap, but it's a common phenomenon where we tend to have a really strong focus on the challenges that we're experiencing, and it is a survival technique. It's a coping mechanism that we've developed, and we often go into that space not... The oven's hot. There's crisp in there. We go into that space not realizing that there is more available to us, and that the resistance that we have is really illusory. And if we focus on that resistance or the fear or the negativity, what actually happens is that we are feeding that energy. Even if we are saying that we don't want something, we're speaking the things we don't like about something, we are talking or processing a negative thing that happened, all of that is adding energy to that negative experience. And unless it actually clears, most of the time, instead, what we're doing is we're just looping around in that same trauma pattern, or in the kind of mental masturbation about the problem. So it doesn't often have a clearing effect. But what does have a really strong clearing effect is switching your focus, no longer giving attention to the negative, to the problem. And actually, by shifting our focus, the problem often will naturally fall away because it no longer is being fed. But in our heads, we think that we have to pay attention to the problem in order for it to go away, when in this case, it's actually the opposite. So that's our starting energy. And from there, I would like to just go a little bit deeper and explore what's happening in these kind of subconscious spaces. Another thing that I've been seeing is this kind of disappointment experience where we are wanting to connect on a deeply intimate level, but there's some sort of challenge in letting that happen. And so the result is this sort of, it's a mild state of victimhood where we feel like things are not working out our way. And so I would love to receive some support for us around that as well. The things that haven't been working out that we thought were going to, we're learning how to release those. And so I would like a little bit of information about what that is that we are currently releasing around the expectations that we have and the disappointment that we feel when those expectations are not met. We have the Two of Wands. Yeah, so there's a sort of option that maybe we didn't realize that we had because we'd been kind of sitting in the more negative state. But when we look beyond, we are able to see that there is another option and that we're able to change the reality that we're experiencing by choosing. So we're understanding the power of choice in that. And I would like to know, what is this other option that we have not been currently stepping into, but that really is more aligned than what we previously thought was what we wanted. The Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, there's a sort of completion, like everything comes around and it will make sense in time, and there's not so much of an effort that's needed. You know, the choice with the Two of Wands is an action, but with this we understand that the action is a natural impulse. And as long as we're allowing the natural flow of the Tao to move, or the Qi to move through us, and for life to move through us, you know, we witness it from this bigger perspective, then we understand that everything is coming for full circle. Everything is falling into place. It is making sense. The old patterns that weren't working are closing out. And there's an ease to it that's really beautiful. Okay, I would love to hear for there's more there. There's still this sense of disappointment because there's something that we were hoping for that isn't, it's not tangible. Like it's not manifesting the way that we had hoped it had. There's a sort of delay. So it is coming, you know, and it is coming in this natural, but there's still this sort of discomfort around the expectations of how quickly it should happen, where it should be right now, or feeling like it's not okay where it is right now. So I got a handful of cards for this. So I just want to expand it a little bit to give us some more information about what this kind of urgency is, as well as the disappointment. So yeah, the decision is, there's the Two of Swords is a decision in our minds and in the way that we're communicating as well. So we have options that it's in reverse that we're not seeing. Again, we're not allowing ourselves to communicate from these really open perspectives. We tend right now to be a little bit more narrow and not to realize that we have options, that we can make another choice. But of course, yeah, the Sun comes through because this type of pattern, it doesn't feel good. There's a sort of slow, building of confusion and this kind of mental trap that happens when we are closed-minded. And so when we allow ourselves to step into the bigger perspective, to choose something different, to communicate differently, then we finally access the sun. And this is a natural energy, you know. In some traditions it's masculine, but in many other traditions the sun is represented by feminine energy. And you can see that the word Sunna actually is the Nordic sun goddess. So yeah, it's really beautiful to realize that that type of energy is natural within us, and that it's wanting to express itself through us. And that is really an option that maybe we didn't realize was ready for us. And then we have the Seven of Cups. So once we step into that realization that we do have a choice, we realize that there's actually many choices. So this is similar to the two, but there's a lot more to look at. There's not just one other option. You realize at this point that there's actually a lot of options. And again, this can contribute to the feeling that we've been having of being overwhelmed or not really knowing what we want, and kind of getting trapped again in that illusion. So it looks kind of like a cycle where we did break the pattern, but we came around to it and it's like, hey, we broke the pattern, but here it is again in a little bit of a different form with even more challenge possibly. And that's arriving because we're ready for it, because we have the capacity for it. And then we have the 10 of Earth in reverse. So the results of it, the truly abundant result, is part of the expectation that has not been coming through. We haven't been feeling that, even though we are really longing for it. So again, there's a gap in the manifestation. With this one, what's coming through is a distinction in the way that we're manifesting. If we manifest, it's similar to what we were saying about focusing on the negative. If we manifest by thinking about what we don't have, what we're doing is we're adding energy to the feeling of not having it, because we're thinking and talking about what we don't have. Instead, what we have to do when we're manifesting is that we have to focus on what we already have, access a state of gratitude and acceptance for that, and realize that the momentum of that energy naturally becomes a magnet to more of that. And so by focusing on what we already have, we are naturally attracting more of what we enjoy about what we already have. And then we come to the Queen of Earth state. And so now it's not necessarily about money, it's about the experience of abundance. So you might be noticing more money, but you might be noticing abundance in other ways. Like you have more time, you have more flexibility, you have more capacity, you have more space in your heart to hear other people's challenging stories. There's an abundance that's beyond, and it really is about receptivity in this specific case. It's about our ability to allow that to enter our field, knowing that we fully deserve it and are worthy of it, of capable of holding it, of allowing it to move through us in effective ways. You know, we trust that we're building this trust in ourselves, that when money arrives to us, we're able to spread it out in these really beautiful, generous ways that are adding blessings to everybody around us as well. And then we have the Death card. Yeah, so once we hit this state, there's a total transformation that we are really ready for. And this speaks to the eclipse season for me for sure. I see that there is a new version of ourselves that is wanting to be birthed, asking to come through. And so as we give ourselves permission to accept that, to allow the old versions of ourselves to fall away, then this version of ourselves comes in, which is really exciting, and it's beyond what we've experienced already. So there is a sort of newness, and yeah, there's some challenge in our ability to currently understand it because it is new, it is beyond what we've experienced before. So the language to describe it is still coming through. I would like to use the Isis Oracle deck to ask Goddess for a little bit more clarification about the transformation that's coming and what we need at this time to support us through that, to understand it. I had 3 cards flip, so I will look at them all. The first is Wings of Isis, uniting with the angelic self. Isis has many names. She's the goddess of many names, but she's often drawn or depicted with wings because that's part of her medicine. But in this case, what it's speaking to is an understanding that there are many different parts to ourselves, and that there's a part of a human which is connected with the angelic realm. We might call that star seed, right? There's a source that is beyond the earth that we are connected to. And that experience, that place, that source has a benevolent, divine, angelic frequency. And that is encoded in our earthly experience as well, because it is a part of who we are. Even though we're not living it in its most free form, we are still in the 3D realm here, but we are in both at the same time. And so we're able to bring the angelic frequencies, the angelic perspectives, ways of being, vibrations into the physical planet. And it's part of our light work. It's part of how we are seeding light onto this planet, is through accepting that we have that access and then beginning to express it to ourselves and then to the people around us, so that we're able to bring that energy and magnify that energy into our planet. We also have the Lunar Queen, she of the celestial crescent. So Isis is usually connected with the sun. That is their primary source of where they believe the energy comes from, where we come from. But the moon has medicine as well. And it's often misunderstood in my perspective and what I've been taught through these channels. And what they want to tell us about that is that the moon is really connected with illusion and shadow, right? So the one who is able to master that, who is able to spend time in delusion and still pull themselves out of it, is the goddess, the queen of that realm, right? So the biggest piece here is not to get stuck in it. And that's what most people do. And this is what the moon represents, is a trap of the earthly realm. So the moon is cycling around the earth and it's unable to go beyond the earthly realm. We call this also the 8th sphere in the anthroposophy around this topic. So it's a mental trap, really, is what it is referring to. The queen of this space is the one who's able to go into that cage and come out again. It's the one who is able to go into the darkness and pull out their own torch, right? So it's not about using the moon energy or giving our energy to the moon. It's about understanding that we have power over the illusions and the shadows. The knot of Isis is the last one. There's an energetic stabilization with the buckle of the beloved. That's really interesting. And there's a symbol here, which is an ankh, but it also looks like a human. So that's interesting. I hadn't seen the ankh to look like a human before. It seems like a very far away memory. So that's really interesting. Energetic stabilization with the buckle of the beloved. So this must be the knot of Isis. Okay. So the knot represents a sort of, you know, the first thought is a trapped feeling, because that's what we have been in. But once we realize that we have these other options, that we are the queen of this shadow realm, that we're able to go beyond it, that we're not of that, then we're able to access a state of deepened security, because we have this sort of anchor in our centers that reminds us who we truly are, that we are beings of light, not beings of shadow. And it allows us to move through chaos or turmoil with more ease, because we're able to hold on to that anchor throughout the experience. And just one last card to close this out with the Rose Oracle deck. Any last messages for today to support us in this timeline shift that is arriving for us, where we can fully settle into our royal kingdom? So I have a little chickadee, a male chickadee, just hanging out right outside the window here. That might be a message for somebody. I'm also receiving a little bit of a number game. There's some sort of kind of like a lotto, like a random number game. So I'm not sure who that is, but I do keep on seeing 2 and 8 specifically. The Mystic Rose. We just pulled this one the other day. Yeah, so again, this is the truth of who we are and what we're stepping into. We're understanding that we have these abilities, these gifts, these natural instincts that are really powerful. And you know, our education system was not able to help us with that. Most of us, our families, were not able to help us with that. And so now as adults, we're realizing that we have this naturally within us, and that it's really beneficial to us to learn how to work with it. I'm seeing this sort of X-Men type situation where we have the gifts, but they're unrefined. And so there's a sort of awkwardness about it, or kind of like it's spilling out, or it's kind of causing challenges because you haven't worked on it. You haven't learned how to work with it, to utilize it. And so the power is kind of getting out of our hands, and we are learning how to refine our skills so that we're able to actually implement the messages, receive the messages, share the messages without having to question ourselves or to cut something off because we're overwhelmed and our capacity is maxed out. So yeah, really exciting time. I'm excited to hear if you relate to this message, if you feel this coming through, if you've noticed that you've had a sort of new version of yourself starting to bubble up to the surface, if you notice the old version of yourself dissolving. I'm really curious to hear, so let me know in the comments, and also let me know if you had any questions that come up. I'm happy to make videos about specific topics if you have questions or personal things that are going on that you're willing to share that I can make a public video about. And I'm sending you so much love. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here.